Hi amazing people, welcome back to Designs by Timmy. In today's tutorial we're going to be learning how to cut and sew this beautiful maxi dress with a basque waist. It also has a deep v-neck and a puff sleeve. If this seems like something you're interested in, you want to go ahead and watch to the end of the video, please do well to like, share and subscribe. For my new viewers, thank you so much for tuning in, and for my returning subscribers, thank you so much for supporting this channel. You are very much appreciated. And without wasting much time, let's get started with today's tutorial. So guys, for today's tutorial, I have my rulers, I have my scissor and my marker, I have my tape, and I have two pattern pieces that I'm going to be using to draft the upper piece. So to start drafting, I'll go down to mark half an inch. This line is going to start as my shoulder line and also my starting point. From this shoulder line, I'll go ahead and mark my bust point, which is at 10 inches. I'll go down to get my under bust line, which is at 13 inches, and I'll also mark my waistline at 16 inches. I'll repeat the same marking right here, and I'll use my ruler to connect those points. After marking, I'll go ahead to mark my shoulder measurement divided by 2, which is 7.5. I then went ahead to mark 1 inch downwards, and on this same shoulder line, I went in by 3 inches, which is my neck width, and I'll connect it down into the 1 inch to get my shoulder slope. The next thing to do is to get my chest line, and to do so, I divided my bust measurement by 6 and I added 1.5. So what I have there is 7.5, and I also took note of my shoulder measurement, and I'm going to connect the points. So after connecting, I'm going to label this my shoulder line, my chest line, my bust line, my under bust, and my waistline. Now to get my armhole, I'm going to divide what I have here into 2. And after dividing, I'll go in by 0.5 inches. And on my chest line, I'll divide my bust measurement by 4, and I'll connect these 3 points. So this is my armhole. The next thing to do is to take note of the dart, and from my waistline I divided my nipple to nipple measurement by 2, and it gave me 3.5, which is what I marked on the bust line, the under bust and the waistline. I'll connect those points. And for my dart, I'll be making use of 1 inch, which is half an inch on both sides. I marked it right here, and I'll connect it directly into my bust line. After connecting, the next thing to do is to take my body measurement, and I divided my bust by 4, which is 9. I marked it on my bust line. On my waist, I divided my waist measurement by 4, which is 7.75, and I'm going to replace this dot right here, which is 1 inch. I'll proceed to connect those points. I'll also be making use of a bust dot, and the difference between my back and my front is 1.5, and I marked 1.5 right here, and I'll connect it to the bust line. Next, I'll take note of my neck depth, and for my neck depth, I'm going to be making use of 10 inches, which is exactly on my bust line. I just mark the point right there, and I'll connect it slantedly to form my V-neck shape. After connecting, on this same line, we're going to be measuring what we have here into 2, and I'm going to go ahead and mark the midpoint. This is going to help us avoid gaping on the neckline. So from this point, I'm going to go down to mark half an inch. This is just to close up the dots that I'm taking there, and I'll connect it to my bust point as well. So now I'm going to determine where I want my under bust shape to start from, and from my under bust, I'm going to go up by about 1.5 inch, and I'm going to use my curve ruler to connect it into my under bust. After connecting, this is how it looks. Now we're done drafting the front piece. What I'm going to do is close up this dots, and I'm also going to go ahead and slit open this bust dot, so I'm able to cut out the dot that we have on the waistline. Once I slit this open, I'm going to try and close up my dots that I have on the waist, and I'm going to use my tape to just hold this down. So now that we're done, I'm just going to go ahead and cut out the underbust line, and I'll trim off the remaining pieces. And after cutting, this is how it looks. Now we're going to be closing up this dot as well. So I'll just fold it in like so. And after closing this dot, you can see we don't have a straight line on the neckline. So I'll just go ahead and correct this using my ruler. And now I'll cut out this excess. I'll then use my paper tape to hold this down. And I'll cut out the remaining dots that I have here. Once it's done, I'll just go ahead and close up my bust dot, and I'll use my paper tape to hold this down, and I'll correct the shape that I have here. I'll then proceed to cut out the remaining pattern piece. Then for the gathers that we have on the upper part, we're going to be using a slash and spread option. So I'm going to divide what I have here into two, and I'll mark the midpoint. After marking the midpoint, I'll connect it directly into my bust line just like this. And I'll slit this part open. So I'm just labeling this 1 and 2. So I'll bring in my fresh paper and I'm going to place my pattern piece on it like so. I'll also place this one on it like this. I'll make sure that the line that I have on my shoulder line is slanted just as our shoulder is slanted, and I'm going to be making use of 3 inches for the gathers that I have on top, and for the bottom I'm going to be making use of 4 inches, and I'm going to tape this down. I'll then use my ruler to connect the slant on the shoulder like this, and I'll also use my curved ruler just to give this the shape that we have there. After shaping this, I'll go ahead and confirm that I still have my point, which is 4 inches for the M and 3 inches on top, and I'll tape this down and cut this out. After cutting, this is how it looks. We'll be pleating in these points, and I'll move on to the bottom piece. So now, to get the Basque waist, I just went ahead to pin my underbust line to another fresh paper, and I'm going to go down by about 3.5 inches for my Basque waist, and I'll connect it directly into the side. After connecting, I'll just proceed to cut out this piece as well, and I'm done with the Basque waist. So these are the pattern pieces for the front, and we'll move on to drafting the back. So for the back, it's a basic bodice. I'll go down to mark 1/2 inch to start as my starting point. And from this point, I'm going to mark 1.5 inch. This is going to stand as my zipper allowance. I'll connect the point and label these the zipper allowance. After labeling, I'll go down to mark my point. So I'm going to mark my bust line, which is at 10 inches, and my waistline for the back is 14.5. And I'll repeat the same line right here. I'll use my ruler to connect those points. And this is my shoulder line, my bust line, and my waistline. Next, I'm going to get my neck width for the back, which is 3 inches, and my shoulder point, which is 7.5. I'll go down to mark 1 inch and connect the point. And from this point as well, I'll go down to get my chest line, which is my bust measurement divided by 6 plus 1.5. And I also took note of my shoulder line right there. And I connected the point like so. And this is my chest line. So I'm going to also determine my armhole point by dividing this place into 2. And on my chest line, 9 inches for my round bust measurement divided by 4. And I'm just connecting the point. So on the waistline, we're going to be taking note of our dot as well, which is my nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2, which is 3.5, and I'll connect the points. And for the dot for the back as well, I'm going to be making use of 1 inch, which is 1/2 inch on both sides, and I'll connect to the chest line. After connecting to the chest line, the next thing to do is to take our body measurement. I took my round bust measurement divided by 4, and on my waist, I divided my waist by 4, and I replaced the dot and I connected the points. On the waistline, to avoid zipper bulging, I'll just extend the line like so. and I'm going to be marking half an inch away from the zipper line, and I'm also going to go in by half an inch. I'll then use my ruler to connect straight into the back. After connecting, this is what I have. I'll be taking note of my neck width for the back. I made use of 1 inch, and I'm going to connect to my neck width. After connecting, I'll just label this the back piece and I'll cut this out. So these are my pattern pieces, and we'll proceed to cut out on the fabric. For my fabric, I'm making use of my zipper, my 4 meters of this flowered mini mat, and I have my lining piece as well, which I'm only going to be making use for the top, and I also have my interfacing. So I went ahead to cut out the front piece, and on the side I added 1.5 inches. On the top I added half an inch, and on other sides as well I added half an inch. On the bottom of my basque I added 1 inch. For my back piece, I went ahead to add half an inch on the neckline and the back, and for the side I added 1.5, and the hem I added 1 inch. These are the 2 pieces that I'm going to be using for the rope that we have in front. The length is 15 inches and the width is 2 inches. I'll proceed to fold it in like this and stitch on it and turn it over to the right side. I'll repeat the same thing there. Now to work on the top piece. So for my lining, I have 2 pieces, and for my main piece, I have 2 pieces. I'm going to go ahead and place the lining on it like so. And I'm going to be stitching around this neckline by half an inch on both sides, and I'll stitch the side as well by half an inch. So for the underbust and the basque waist, I went ahead to ironing and interfacing on both the lining and the main piece, and I'm just going to take note of where the bottom is to avoid mistakes, and I'll set this aside. For the back piece, I'm going to go ahead and stitch it in. So I have 2 pieces for the main piece and 2 pieces for the lining piece as well. I'll place them right sides on each other. And I'm going to go ahead to start stitching. I'll stitch around the neckline by half an inch, and the back by half an inch, and on the side by half an inch. I'll also stitch in my dot. So this is what I have for the upper piece. And now we're going to take note of where our pleat is going to start from. So from my pattern pieces, I went ahead to measure what I have from the side to the gather, and I see it's about 5 inches. I'll take note of the same 5 inches on my fabric. I'll also take note of it right here. So I'm going to be starting my pleats from about half an inch from the center, which is what I'm taking note here. I'll stitch and stop on the 5-inch point, and on the top as well, I'll start from half an inch and pleat. I'll repeat the exact same thing on the side as well. So for my back piece, this is what I have after stitching. As you can see, I went ahead to flip it over, and I also stitched in my darts. So after pleating the top piece, this is what it looks like. I'm going to measure around what I have here. So I measured and I got about 9.5 inches. So I'm trying to measure around here to get the exact measurement, and this is how it looks. It's perfect. And for the top as well, I measured what I have here, and I have 5 inches. So I'm just going to take note that I have the same 5 inches here. Now that we're done with that, to join this to the basque area, I'm going to take note of the midpoint right here. So when I had to notch it, and I'm going to place my straps. So from the notched area, I just went ahead to pin it down. I'll pin both of them down, and after pinning, I'm going to go ahead and place the upper piece on top. After pinning, this is how it looks. Now for the top piece, I'm going to place them like this, making sure that I leave about half an inch on the sides before stitching. So I just place this piece on the center and I'm going to pin this down. I'll proceed to also pin down the other side, making sure that I'm aligning the gathers, and I'm also leaving about half an inch from the side to stitch. I'll pin this down and I'll repeat the exact same thing for the other side as well. And after pinning down, this is how it looks. I'm just going to go ahead and stitch all around by half an inch, making sure that I don't exceed the half an inch on the side. So after stitching, this is how it looks. I'll go ahead to bring in the other piece that I'm going to be using for the lining, and I'm going to place it on each other like so. I'm just going to go ahead and align these pieces, and I'm going to go ahead and pin this down. When pinning the side, make sure that you don't stitch on the piece that we have. You just need to stitch on the half an inch. So I'll stitch by half an inch like this, and on the side as well, I'll stitch by half an inch and I'll flip it over. So this is it. After stitching, I'm just going to go ahead and trim off all the excess, and I'm also going to go ahead and notch the necessary areas. After trimming and notching, I'll flip it over to the right side and I'll give it a good press. So after ironing, this is how it looks. You can see how neatly this is sitting. And this is how you tie the front. So now we're going to proceed to stitch the back and the front piece together. As you can see how it looks on the inside. So I'll bring in my back piece and I'll place them right sides facing each other. I pinned down the sides and I'm going to go ahead and use the lining to turn over the shoulder. So I just went ahead to fold it in like this, and I'm going to be stitching by half an inch. I'll repeat the exact same thing right here. I'll open up my piece like this and I'm going to stitch by half an inch. After joining, this is how it looks. The next thing to do is to flip this over to the right side, and I'm going to go ahead and just quickly give this a good press as well. After ironing, this is how it looks. Now to join the gathers to the hem, I'm just going to measure what I have all around this edge. And what I have here is 34. I'll be multiplying it by 3. So for the length of my dress, it's going to be 57 inches, and I added extra 3 inches just for hemming. And for the widest part, which is my 34 inches multiplied by 3, I'm going to go ahead and run a loose stitch here to form my gathers. After gathering, this is it. I'll proceed to measure around, making sure that I have the 34 inches. After measuring, I see it's not enough, so I'm just going to go ahead and loosen up this gathers a bit just for me to get my 34 inches. Once I got the 34 inches, I just went ahead to fold this into 2, and I'm going to notch the midpoint. So from this midpoint, I'm going to go ahead and join this to my fabric. So what I'm gonna do here as well is to notch this basque area to get the midpoint. After getting the midpoint, I'm going to be placing my bottom piece right sides on the right side, just like this, and I'm going to locate the notched areas and pin them together. So I'm just going to go ahead and pin this all the way to the side. And I'm going to be stitching this using 1/2 inch. And after stitching, this is how it looks. And this is how it looks on the sides as well. The next thing to do is to insert my zipper and to stitch all the way from this waistline down to the hemline. So I'll just go ahead and stitch like so, and I'm going to determine where my zipper is going to start from, and I'll insert my zipper. After inserting my zipper, this is how it looks. You can see how beautiful this is turning out. I also went ahead to hem the bottom of my dress using the allowance that we gave. So as you can see how neatly this looks. The last thing to do is to work on the sleeves. So for the sleeve, I have my sleeve length to be 7 inches plus 1 inch allowance, which gave me 8. And for the puff sleeve, I went up by about 2 inches. And I'm going to go ahead and blend this into my sleeve cap. So I'll just use my curved ruler to give it a better shape. And I'm going to go ahead and cut this out. After cutting, this is how the sleeve looks. I went ahead to also cut on my fabric, and I have 2 pieces. To stitch the sleeve, we're going to be taking note of where our elastic is going to be. So I'm just going to fold this in by 1/2 inch all around, and I'm also going to do the same thing on this part. And I'm also going to run my gathers on this cap sleeve. And for the elastic, I went ahead to measure around my bicep, which is 13 inches, and I minus 3 inches, which gave me 10 inches. And this is what I'm going to be using to cut out the elastic. After cutting, I'll cut another one out for the other sleeve. And we're going to start inserting this into the casing that we just created. So I'm going to use my pin to just pass it through this. After passing it through, I'm just going to go ahead and stitch this in. And I'll repeat the exact same thing for the other side as well. And this is what they look like after stitching. To insert it to our dress, we're just going to go ahead and pin the center of the armhole into the armhole of the dress, making sure that the seams are aligning. And I'll also go ahead and pin these gathers to the center of my shoulder, like where I have my stitch on my shoulder, and I'll go ahead and stitch this in. I'll repeat the exact same thing for this other sleeve as well. And after stitching, this is how it looks. This dress came out really beautiful. I really love it. The camera is not doing justice, but anyways, we've come to the end of this beautiful tutorial, and thank you so much for watching up until this end. I hope you guys loved it. Please, if you do like this video, please do well to like, share, and subscribe. Do not forget to watch the advertisements. They do help the channel. Please do well to share to your sewing community because it might be helpful to them. And I'll see you all in my next tutorial. Bye.